Las Meninas, Diego Velázquez, Madrid, 1656. Most paintings let you look without being looked at. You stand in front of them, unseen and safe. This one is different. The girl in the center, the painter at his canvas, the young woman beside her. Their eyes are not turned in towards each other. They are turned out towards the one place you happen to be standing. Look into this painting and you are seen in return. And then there is the mirror. Small, grey, easy to walk straight past, far back on the wall. It does not show the room. It shows two faces the room cannot see. The King and Queen of Spain, reflected. Looking out toward the place where you happen to be standing. So the painting asks a question before it tells you anything else. Not who is in the room. Where are you? And why does it feel like you have just been caught? Let the room settle and the panic eases. This is an afternoon in 1656, in a high room of the royal palace in Madrid. Diego Velázquez painted it. Today it hangs in the Prado. In the center, lit as if she is made of light, is the Infanta Margarita. 5 years old, the daughter of the king and queen. Around her, the maids of honor who give the painting its name. One kneels to offer her a small drink. Another leans in beside her. There is a great dog, half asleep. And at the very front, two figures most painters of the age would have left out, or turned into a joke. The court dwarfs, one of them, Nicholas Pertusato, rests a foot on the dog's back. In the cold language of their age, people like them were catalogued as part of the household. One record of the time called such people palace vermin. Now look at how Velázquez paints them. The woman at the front, Maria Barbola, turns fully towards you and meets your eye with a steady, level calm. She does not shrink. She is not mocked. She is not tucked into a corner as a curiosity. The same light falls on her as on the princess. The same care, the same weight. The eye he turns on the smallest figure in the room is the same eye he turns on the heir to Spain. That is the first thing this painting teaches you. The tenderness here is not pity, it is recognition. Everyone in this room is seen as a whole person. Hold on to that, it will matter at the end. Now go back to the faces, knowing what you know. Velázquez looks out. The Infanta looks out. The young woman beside her looks out. Half the room has stopped mid-breath and turned towards the front of the picture, towards you. This is the strange thing the painting does to time. It is not a scene you are watching unfold, it is a scene that has just noticed you watching. And that changes the feeling completely. A moment ago, it exposed you, caught you. Stay inside that gaze a little longer though, and it stops feeling like being watched and starts feeling like something rarer. Being met. Most of the time we move through the world half-seen, filed under a role, a job, a face in a crowd. This painting does the opposite. It looks straight at the place where you stand, and it holds you there. And that is the same hunger every face in here carries. The child, the maid, the woman a ledger called vermin, each one painted as someone who deserves to be looked at fully, once. The room is not a sealed box you peer into. It is a room with the front wall taken away, and everyone in it is looking back. Follow the gazes to where they point, and you reach the mirror. The Prado names the two reflected faces, Philip IV and Mariana of Austria, the Infanta's parents, the most powerful people in Spain, and the smallest, dimmest thing in the painting, a reflection, a rumor of a presence, standing somewhere out front, near you. One reading is that the king and queen are standing exactly where you are, just outside the frame, while Velázquez paints them. If that is true, then for a moment you share the place of a king. That is the puzzle everyone repeats. But do not stop at the puzzle, because there is one figure in this room who is not small and not dim, and not waiting on the monarchs at all. The painter himself. And on his chest, in red, there is a cross. The cross of the Order of Santiago, the mark of a nobleman. He was not born to it, he spent his whole life reaching for it. The finest painter in Spain, and still, in the dry record of his own time, he survives almost as a job title, the King's Painter. So that cross is the wound, not the vanity. And here is the strange part. He was admitted to the order in 1659, 3 years after this afternoon was painted. So the cross was added later. By legend, the king himself painted it on. Most likely it was Velázquez's own hand. We cannot say which, but we can say this. The king lobbied the Pope to win him that honor. A king pleading for a painter across a gulf of rank that should have made it impossible. So the cross is 3 things at once. A wound that never quite healed. A quiet act of defiance, a man naming himself what the world would not. And a sign that once, somebody who owed him nothing decided he mattered. There is one thing in this painting you are not allowed to see. The canvas. The huge one, at the left, where Velázquez is working. It rises almost to the ceiling, and it is turned away. You only ever get the back of it. Bare wood. Whatever he is making is hidden from you, forever. Is it the king and queen standing out front where you stand? Is it the very scene you are looking at now? The painting will not say, but think about what that hidden canvas really is. It is this moment being made to last. Velázquez in the act of fixing one afternoon so that it cannot get away. And everyone in this room is already running out of time. The king reflected in that little mirror would not let Velázquez go on painting him as the years took him. He did not wish, it was said, to see himself growing old through the eyes of his own painter. The most powerful man in Europe, afraid of one honest brush. He chose not to be looked at rather than be looked at truthfully, and he had reason to fear time. Look at him across the years Velázquez painted him, the young king in armor, certain of everything, then heavier and slower, then at the end, a tired man with sad eyes and a soft sagging face, worn down by a kingdom that was slipping through his fingers. The same man, 30 years apart. You can watch a life leak out of a face in 3 portraits. And the king had married into the very same blood. His queen, Mariana, was his own niece. To keep the crown inside the family, the Spanish Habsburgs married their cousins and their nieces over and over, and the children paid for it. So few survived. The little girl at the center of this painting, the Infanta Margarita, would be married to her uncle, the Emperor Leopold, and gone by 21. Her small brother, Felipe Prospero, would not live to 5. And the last of the line, a boy called Charles, born so frail he could barely walk, would inherit a crown he could not carry and die without a single child. With him, the dynasty that had ruled half the world simply stopped. Velázquez did not know all of it, but he knew enough. He was painting a golden afternoon for a family that was already, quietly, running out of children. That is the clock under all this warmth. Not one man growing old, a whole world getting ready to vanish. The child in the light will not always be 5. The painter, brush raised, has 4 years left to live. The low, warm light through the window is the light of a day already ending. That is what the hidden canvas holds. Not a secret. A held breath. The exact instant before all of this begins to disappear. Stay with the painter a moment longer. He has put himself inside the painting, life-sized, brush raised, looking out with a level, unhurried gaze. Not hidden in a corner, the way painters usually slip themselves in. Not small. He stands taller than the royal child he serves. In his world, that was an act of quiet nerve. For most of his life, the greatest painter in Spain was, in the eyes of the court, a servant who happened to be good with a brush. Painting was treated as a trade, something done with the hands, like a carpenter or a mason. A gentleman could serve a king. A man who worked with his hands could not stand among gentlemen. To feel what that cross cost him, you have to know where he started. Not in a palace, in Seville, the son of an ordinary family, a boy apprenticed to learn a craft like any other. His first paintings are not kings, they are kitchen tables, an old woman frying eggs, a boy carrying water, ordinary people, painted with a seriousness his age kept for saints and royalty. He painted his way north, into the court, into the king's trust, until he was the most valued brush in Spain. He went to Rome and painted the Pope so truthfully, the picture was said to be almost too real. He painted his own assistant. a man he had held enslaved and then set free, and gave him the steady, unflinching dignity of a lord. Wherever Velázquez looked, he did the same impossible thing. He saw the whole person. So when Velázquez places himself here, at full height, brush in hand, among the family of the king, he is making a claim. He is saying that what he does is not labor, but art, that the hand and the mind are not separate things. He is painting his own right to stand in this room. And 4 years after this afternoon in 1660, he was dead. The man who ached his whole life to be counted at last, and then, so quickly, not here at all. Everything you are looking at, he was already losing. He just had not been told yet. Now lift your eyes to the back wall, above the heads, into the shadow. 2 dark paintings hang there. They are easy to miss in the dim. They are usually read as 2 old stories. Minerva and Arachne, Apollo and Pan. One a contest in weaving, one a contest in music. In both, a mortal artist dares to measure their skill against a god. In both, the question is the same. How much is the maker worth? It is worth knowing how those stories end. In one, a mortal woman, Arachne, weaves so beautifully that she dares the goddess Minerva to a contest, and wins. For being that good and that proud, the goddess destroys her and turns her into a spider to spin forever in a corner. In the other, a mortal sets his music against a god, loses, and is flayed alive for it. 2 stories about a human being who reaches, through nothing but skill, for the level of the divine, and is punished for the reaching. And Velázquez has hung his own argument on the wall behind himself, in shadow, where you might not notice it. The painter below, the stories above, all pulling the same way. A quiet, lifelong case for the dignity of the person who makes the image, and a clear-eyed admission of how dangerous that claim has always been. But notice where they sit. High up, in the dark, the whole top half of this painting is shadow. The light, the life, all of it is pressed into the lower band, and above it the room dissolves into brown and gold and nothing. That shadow is not decoration. It is where everyone in the light is heading, because everything radiant in this picture is already on its way out. The light is going. The child will grow. The painter has 4 years, and this warm gathered household will be scattered by ordinary time. This is why the painting will not sit still as a portrait. Step close to it, and something uncanny happens. The faces you have come to love come apart. The infanta's hair becomes a few loose strokes. A cheek dissolves into a smear of light. The figures thin out, like people remembered rather than seen. Step back, and they gather themselves again, alive. That is exactly how memory holds the people we have lost. Vivid from a distance, and the moment you reach for them, they thin into nothing. A few marks, a color, a trick of the light. He painted these daily, beloved faces like figures in a dream, because that is what they were always going to become. A portrait keeps a likeness. This keeps something harder. The feeling of watching people you love while they are still here, and somehow already knowing you will not keep them. And this world had its grief close by. The king and queen lost a son, a small boy, dead at the age of 4. The family in these golden rooms knew, better than anyone, how fast the light goes. The painting does not look away from that. It gathers everyone into one warm afternoon, and it knows the afternoon is ending. The child forever 5, the painter forever standing, everything radiant in this room, already, gently, passing. So come back one last time to the mirror. Still small, still dim, still easy to walk past, but now you know what it holds. The little girl in the light grew up, and was gone by 21. The painter was gone in 4 years. The king, the queen, the maids, the dog, the boy, the 2 figures at the front who met your eye with such steadiness, all of them gone. And the room itself is gone. Decades on, a fire took the palace, and these very walls burned. The exact space you have been standing inside, looking into, looking out of, no longer exists anywhere on earth, except here. Think how close this came to going with everything else. When the fire took the palace, this painting had to be brought out through it, and it did not come through clean. It was damaged that night and repaired afterwards. It survived the night the rest of that world burned. It passed into a new palace and then onto the wall of a public museum, the Prado, where it hangs today in a quiet room of its own. The afternoon meant for a handful of royal eyes is looked at now by countless strangers year after year from every country on earth. Everything in this picture was made out of the most perishable thing there is, a single passing afternoon. And it became the surest thing the painter ever made. He built a stay against vanishing out of the very thing that vanishes. That is what this painting is for, not a puzzle, a held breath. And here is where it finds you. That empty place at the front, where the gazes meet, where the king and queen are reflected, where the painter is looking. That is not an accident, and it is not a riddle. It is the one place in the world where the looking happens. And you are standing in it now. When you stand there, you do for these people the one thing the painting was always doing. You see them, the child, the servant, the woman a ledger called vermin, the man who wanted his whole life to be counted. In this one moment, they are not forgotten because you are looking at them. And that is the deepest thing this painting knows. To be truly seen, once, fully, is the closest thing there is to not disappearing. The painting does it for them. The question it leaves you with is quieter, and it is yours. Who is looking? Who is being seen? And who, one day, will remember you?